rates at the long end, the 30-year, for example, or however on the long end, are still going to go higher?
Yes. Look, I think there's, even in the relative short term, there are a number of reasons why rates can move a lot. Among them, right, we have a government shutdown. We're going into what looks like a highly probable government shutdown. We're going to have a data shutdown, right? All these little government agencies that put out data that the Federal Reserve relies on to decide whether to, adjust interest rates, then they're going to lose access to that data. So we have this sort of kind of dark period. We have probably the worst technical environment in our lifetimes for supply of bonds versus buyer bonds, right? We have China selling. We have Russia, to the extent they own any U.S. securities anymore, selling. We have Saudi Arabia selling. And we have an economy that is still strong and inflation, 3.5%, 4%, and persistent. But, our view is basically you're not being paid enough to enter into a 30-year contract with the U.S. government at a fixed price. 4.7 or wherever it is now. It doesn't make sense in a world where we think structural inflation is north of 3% for the very long term. We went through this very unusual period with extremely low interest rates, where everything just got cheaper. And since the financial crisis, the effort of the Federal Reserve was to make sure we didn't have deflation. The aspirational goal is to get to 2% inflation, and then the pandemic, and trillions of fiscal stimulus, the psychological stimulus of being free to roam after being locked up. All of these factors coming at once kind of lit inflation, and we still have this massive deficit spending. We still have infrastructure spending. The government's selling literally hundreds of billions of dollars of securities, bills, and at some point they're going to have to sell more and more of the longer instruments. And if you look